All right, looks like we're recording and it looks like most everybody's in. So we will dive right in here. Welcome to
Welcome.
Evergreen Lost or Missing Person Form Training Session. For those of you that don't know me yet, my name is Leslie Miska and I'm the Office of Aging and Disability Services Information Services Manager. I will be leading today's training session. Next slide, please, Nikki. During today's training session, we will cover the following topics: an introduction to Evergreen, the person record alerts, and lost or missing person form and query. Next slide, please, Nikki. Prior to this training, you should have watched the Evergreen microlearning videos. If you have not had a chance to watch those yet, or if you'd like to do a refresher, those videos have been posted to our Evergreen project website at maine.gov/dhs/EIS/Evergreen, and you'll need to go to the training page to get those videos. The videos provide training on the following topics: search, which is an introduction to Evergreen and the search process and how to access person, staff, locations, and organizations. Dashboards. There are two different dashboards in Evergreen. One is for the system user, yourself, and the other is for the individual person records. The person record itself will be one of the microlearning trainings, and that will cover all of the demographic and personal information that's captured for the individuals that we serve. And then there's one on health information, which is a comprehensive collection of all of the information such as diagnoses, allergies, medications, treatments, health insurance, etc. Then there's one on queries and notifications. These are tools that will help you manage your outstanding work or actions that you need to take within the system. One on progress notes, which will show you how to document your progress notes within a person record. And then the final video is related to attachments and how you can upload important documents to a person's record to supplement the information that's in Evergreen. Please note that we will not be covering all of the information on those topics today, so you will want to make sure that you do review those microlearning videos at some point if you haven't had a chance to do that already. Next slide, please, Nikki. Participants have been added to the training session in listener mode, therefore your line is muted. We ask that you type questions into the Q&A using the Q&A icon in your Zoom window menu. So depending on how big your menu is, that you may see it right on your menu bar, or you may need to click the 3-dot ellipses for the under more to get your Q&A icon. But you can open that up and you can type questions into that Q&A throughout the presentation, and I'll be happy to answer as many as we have time for at the conclusion of the presentation. And any that I'm not able to get to, we'll certainly take back and make sure that we post an answer to that on our website under our frequently asked questions. Next slide, please, Nikki. There are two different sides to the Evergreen system, two different sections of the Evergreen system. One is for our Adult Protective Services program, and that's where our APS reports are housed. And then the other side of the Evergreen system is the Evergreen person record. Today, we're going to focus on the person record side of Evergreen. That's where our EIS functionality will live. The Adult Protective Services program and public guardianship conservatorship programs have been using Evergreen since June of 2020, and they're doing most of their work under the Adult Protective Services side. However, I am bringing this up here because it is important for everybody to know that the person record itself is shared in Evergreen. So both our developmental disabilities and neurobehavioral programs and our adult protective services and public guardianship conservatorship staff will all access the same single person record, and will be able to view that data and edit the data that's captured in that person record. Next slide, please, Nikki. Some of the benefits of Evergreen include a self-service help feature or help center, and features include the ability to reset your own password, which is very exciting. System generated notifications for lost or missing persons. The ability to run role-specific queries to see outstanding work or actionable tasks, an enhanced person record with centralized data capture. For example, we're capturing history items under the 8 Charting a Life course domain topics. Health information is centrally located at the person record level. So all of those things like diagnoses, medications, treatments, alerts are also centralized at the person record, and much, much more. There's also a display of common data within forms rather than having to recapture that. For example, when you create a form, if the form requires guardianship status, those details will flow in from the person record. If it requires the person's date of birth or their address or their assigned case manager, those types of things will just automatically pull in and display on the forms rather than the form creator needing to manually recapture that data. Also, there is a more standardized data capture in Evergreen. Some examples of this are required fields, field level validations, making sure that the content that's entered into the field is matching the format of that field. So dates will be in date format. And then it also has several form workflows and business rules that will help make sure that data is being captured in a consistent fashion. Next slide, please, Nikki. My dashboard is the first page that a user or staff member will see after logging in. My dashboard showcases a search tool at the very top bar, that white navigation bar at the top, which I refer to as the persistent navigation. And that is the quick search that you see there. And alongside of that, or below that, are the tiles for your dashboard. So for this presentation, I took my screenshots as a program administrator, an Office of Aging and Disability Services program administrator. They are one of the roles that has access to the missing person form. There are several roles that have the ability to create and view the form, but I took all these screenshots from the program administrator perspective. And so these are the tiles that the program administrator will see. And starting at the left of the screen, the orange tile is the announcements tile. That's where alerts from the vendor themselves or my team, the information services unit, will be populated. So all system users have that tile and will see those messages. And there'll be things like upcoming scheduled maintenance, system downtime, office closures, things like that. The middle tile is the messages tile, messages inbox tile. And this is a feature in Evergreen that is similar to email. However, it's contained within Evergreen. So it can be used instead of email to communicate about the clients that we serve. And then all of that content will be stored inside of the system along with the forms and record and data. So you, as a user, you can communicate with other system users. So for example, if a guardianship representative needed to communicate with a community case manager or care coordinator, they can do that right within the system using messages. And then the tile to the right here is the My Notes tile. This is similar to an app like Sticky Notes or something like that you might have, or Notepad or something like that you might have used on a laptop or a smartphone device. And if your role includes the ability to create progress notes, then you would be able to create a My Note and promote that to a progress note. If your role does not have the ability to create progress notes, you can still use the My Notes feature. They just save as notes to your staff profile only. You cannot apply them to a specific person record like a progress note. Next slide, please, Nikki. So the lost or missing person form should be filled out whenever a person receiving public guardianship or conservatorship services or services at a DHHS crisis house cannot be located. The form could also be used if a provider notifies the department that a person has gone missing from the provider's facility. Next slide, please, Nikki. To create a lost or missing person form, the user should navigate to the lost missing persons record and then click on the Forms Plans icon in the green left-hand primary navigation menu. I've circled that icon in red and the background appears white because I was clicked onto that page when I took this screenshot. Once you click on the Forms Plans icon, it will take you to the All Forms List page, which is kind of grayed out in the background of this screenshot. From here, you'll click on that plus new form button that's in the upper left of the central content area. This will open a pop-up modal like the one that you're seeing in the center of this screenshot. From here, you will choose the category of guardianship conservatorship and the form lost or missing person. And then you'll click next to move to step 2, where you'll confirm that you're sure you would like to create the form. Next slide, please, Nikki. Upon creating the form, the system will navigate you directly into the lost or missing person form. Like other forms in Evergreen, the lost or missing person form will be in a status of in progress. The completion requirements will display an orange dotted circle indicating that the required fields for submission have not been populated. All sections of the form will be collapsed by default, and you can either use the expand all icon in the top menu, or you can scroll and open sections individually using the caret icon to the left of each header. And then to collapse, you just click that caret icon again. When I took this screenshot, I had manually expanded the initial information for lost or missing person section before I captured the screenshot. As you can see, this section was auto-populated by the system with an alert message telling the creator or myself to submit updates daily until the person is located. So that blue message across the top is an alert message, and it's just telling me, hey, you need to submit updates every single day until this person is found. And then the sections that you see under it, the guardian and the lost or missing person profile, all of this auto-populated from the person record. You can scroll to populate the lost or missing person information, or you can click on the toggle icon in the upper right-hand side of the content area to open the quick scroll menu. The quick scroll menu will display all of the sections of the form, which at the time of creation is just the initial information section. So the fields that populate from the person record, if the data exists, are the guardianship information. Again, if they have a private or public guardian, the person's date of birth, their living arrangement, address, and any active safety alerts from their record, if those exist, as well as any active diagnoses and medications from their health information. Next slide, please, Nikki. Underneath those fields is the lost or missing person information section, which does need to be populated by the creator. To populate this section, you'll hover over it and you should see the pencil icon appear. You can click anywhere in that section and it will open a pop-up edit modal like the one that's being shown in the center of this screenshot. You will be required to provide the date and time that the person was discovered missing, as well as the date and time the person was last seen. If you do not know the exact times, you can check the "is this approximate" checkbox, which will indicate that the times are not exact. Next, you will be required to provide the last known location. You can select as many types of risk this situation presents. In this example, I just selected person in danger. If you select at least one item from the list, the option for none will become grayed out, just like it appears in this screenshot. Because I had clicked person in danger, the none option at the bottom looks a little bit lighter gray than the rest. That's because I could not check that now that I've selected something. If you wanted to select none, you would have to either not check anything to begin with and and immediately check none, or uncheck anything that you had checked in order for none to become selectable again. If other is selected, then you will be presented with a text box for describing the other type of risk. Next slide, please, Nikki. If you select any type of risk besides none, you will be required to describe the risk. The next 3 text boxes all contain ghost or guiding text and the information icon symbol, which is the little light bulb symbol next to the right of the field labels. Which, if you click on those light bulb symbols, they will pop up a window with the same grayed out guiding text that's in the text field when you initially get to this screen. So I had already typed responses into level of functioning and circumstances of current situation, but you can see on relevant history, I purposefully did not type anything into there so you could see that ghosting guiding text. It says, if an elopement, does the person have a history of eloping? Where has the person been located in the past? Are there any leads on where the person may have gone or who the person may have contacted? As soon as you start typing into that field with your relevant history information, that ghost text will go away. But if you want to refer to it, you can click the little light bulb icon to the right of relevant history and it will open it up and show you that same text. Next slide, please, Nikki. After that, you will select all of the parties who have been notified. The option of none and other work the same way here as they did in the type of risk field. There is also an optional notification details field. You can populate data in there or not. Next slide, please, Nikki. The final 3 required fields in this section include a description of any actions that have been taken to locate the person, any planned actions that will be taken, and any additional details. The system will auto-populate the staff member and date timestamp with the logged in user's name and the date time when this content gets saved. Next slide, please, Nikki. Once you have populated all of the required fields, your completion requirements icon will change to the green check marks as displayed here at the top center of this screenshot. To submit the lost or missing person form, you will click on the status dropdown and select the submit option, which I've circled inside of the status dropdown circle. This choosing submit will this change in status will trigger the system to send notifications to the users with the role of executive manager, crisis program administrator, and program administrator for the program administrator in the district in which the person lives. The system will also submit a notification every 24 hours reminding the data enterer or the creator to submit a daily update. The close option in this status dropdown should only be used if the form was created in error and you truly want to close the form out. Next slide, please, Nikki. Once the form has been submitted, the status will change to pending disposition. The completion requirements will show the orange dotted circle again, and the initial information section will be set to read only. 2 new sections will appear in the quick scroll menu for updating information and adding and providing a disposition. To add an update, a daily update, you will click on the plus add update button and the add update modal will appear, like the one that you see in the center of the screen here. There are 3 required text fields to add an update. There's one for additional actions that have been taken to locate the person, more planned actions to be taken, and any additional information that was learned since the most recent update. Just like the initial information section, the staff member and date timestamp will be auto-populated by the system upon saving. Each time an update is saved, the system will trigger notifications to those same roles of executive manager, crisis program administrator, and the program administrator for the district in which the person lives. Updates can be made as often as needed, but should be done minimally at least once a day. Next slide, please, Nikki. Once the person has been located, the disposition section can be populated. The disposition section includes required fields for the date and time the person was found. The system will then calculate the time that the person was missing between the last seen on date and time and the date and time that they were found. In this example, the person was missing for 14 hours. You will be required to provide the location where the person was found and to select the condition the person was in when they were found. The choices for their condition, which are displayed in the zoomed window with the thick black border to the right of that field, are unharmed, injured, hospitalized, detained or incarcerated, deceased, other, or unknown. If other is selected, you will be required to provide a description of the other condition. An optional additional details field is also available. And consistent with the other sections, the staff member and date timestamp will be auto-populated by the system upon saving. Next slide, please, Nikki. Once you have populated all of the required fields, your completion requirements icon will change to the green check marks as displayed here. To complete the lost or missing person form, you will click on the status dropdown and select the complete option, which I've circled inside of the status dropdown. This change in status will trigger another system notification to anybody with the executive manager role, crisis program administrator role, and the program administrator for the district in which the person lives. And now I'm going to steal the screen share from Nikki and just do a little demo for you of how to navigate to the person record and create this form. I'm in a test environment, so please bear with me. Hopefully, you don't run into any glitches here, but it can be a little tricky. So I've navigated to the person record Leslie test. And if I go down here to the forms and plans area, I can actually see here that I have a lost or missing person form that's already in progress, and it has a status of pending disposition. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. I just simply click on it and it opens up the form for me. I can open my quick scroll and see this. I can use my expand all, and this will expand all of my sections automatically. And I can use my disposition to come down here to the disposition, and I get my pencil icon when I hover, and I can say that the person was found today. And no, I didn't use the proper formatting of month, day, year. So it's telling me that I should have just used my calendar picker. That's much easier. And it is 4:25. So we'll pretend that we found this person at 4 p.m. And this person was missing for 3 days, 22 hours, and 40 minutes. I was not following the instructions and I didn't put my updates on here. Please don't do that in the real world. I just created this a few days ago when I was preparing for the training. So location found, at home. Oops, and I'm in caps lock. Didn't mean to do that. Unharmed, no additional details, and I can save. And now my completion requirements are green, and I can go ahead and complete this. And I can say my initials and today's date. And now my status is completed. And if I go back here to my all forms list page, I can see that my form has now updated to completed, and the system has triggered a notification letting all of those individuals know. So I'm going to stop sharing and let Nikki give you the slides back. In addition to the lost or missing person form, the person record contains both critical alerts and alerts for safety and environmental concerns. Next slide, please, Nikki. The alerts, safety and environmental, and critical alerts are managed in the person record. All active alerts are displayed on the Person Summary tab. In this example, there's an active critical alert for Leslie testing, which describes that she has been missing since November 28th, 23. There is also an active safety alert and an active environmental alert. I'm going to steal the screen share back from Nikki and show you a little bit more about that as well. So here in the person record, I'm going to go to critical alerts, and you can see, well, actually, I'll show you on the summary first. So I have this active critical alert showing up here on the person summary. But if I go into the record here and I navigate to the critical alerts section and I edit that alert and I uncheck the active box here, then if I go back to the summary, it no longer shows on the summary because it is no longer an active alert. Some roles do have the delete option as well. Most do not have the ability to delete records. So I know you saw the trash can icon because I'm logged in as the super user right now. I'm going to stop sharing and let Nikki bring the slides back up for us. Queries are used to track outstanding tasks and actions. Next slide, please, Nikki. User roles who have access to create or view the lost and missing person form also have access to run the associated queries. Queries are accessed by clicking on the queries icon or menu item in the top persistent navigation menu, the white navigation menu. I've circled queries up there in red. Once you click on queries, you'll be brought to the queries page, and depending on your role, you click on the little filter icon, you'll see the list of queries that you can run. And there are 2 lost or missing person queries. So if your role has access to that form, you should see these queries. And those are the in progress, which will return results for forms which have been created but have not yet been submitted. So they were somebody went to the forms and plans and they created the form, but they never filled out that initial section and submitted it yet. And then the pending disposition query, if you run that, will return results for forms which were created and submitted, but do not yet have a disposition. So likely the person is still missing. In this example, I had run the pending disposition query, which shows me that Leslie Test is still missing since December 1st, 2023. Of course, we just found her and we just set that to disposition. So if I ran the query again right now, it would not show up. To see the initial information and all of the updates, the user can simply click on the row and be navigated directly into that form. So you can go to the queries at any time, run it, see all of the outstanding or lost individuals. And if you want to go in and review the specific updates related to that, you just click on the row that you want to go to and it'll direct you right into that person's form. Query results can also be exported for further analysis. So if somebody within the Office of Aging and Disability needs to be analyzing this data, they can also export it right from this screen, and it'll export everything that's returned on their results. Once the person has been found, as I mentioned, and the disposition has been added and the form is set to complete, then they'll no longer show up as a result in this query. Next slide, please, Nikki. So that does conclude the presentation slides. The next steps are to practice in the sandbox. For those of you that participated in training session yesterday, I did mention, and I'll mention again today, we will be sending out your login credentials and your assigned person record for the sandbox training environment within the next week or so. It's just a little bit of logistics with, 2,500 people that we need to assign records to. We just, it's going to take us a little bit of time to get those out, but we will try to get those out just as quickly as possible. In the meantime, you can certainly go to our website at maine.gov/DHHS/EIS/Evergreen, and you can watch the microlearning videos if you haven't had a chance to do that yet, or rewatch them if you've seen them already. You can rewatch the informational webinars that we've posted out there related to the person record and progress notes and reportable events and the PCP to prior authorization workflow. You can also access the recorded trainings. So this session will be posted to our website in the next day or so, and you can go watch that, or the sessions that were recorded and will be posted from yesterday. You can also read the frequently asked questions out on our project website. So there's lots of content out there. I definitely encourage you to go out there and get up to speed on what we've shared already while you're waiting for your sandbox access. You can also be tying up loose ends in the EIS system. So if you have any data that's in progress that can be completed prior to the deploy, you should certainly be working towards completing everything that you can complete. Certainly there will be forms that cannot be completed, like potentially a person-centered plan that's in progress, or DD intake and eligibility form that's in progress. Those forms will migrate in the status that they're in the in-progress status, but anything that can be completed, like progress notes or reportable events, we would like you to get those completed before 5 p.m. on Friday, January 12th, 2024. You can also participate in the Q&A sessions that FEI will be holding. They're going to be later in January. And you can also, at any time, email questions to us at evergreen.dhhs@maine.gov. And Nancy is monitoring that email box, and we will try to respond to those as quickly as we can, or post responses to your questions in our frequently asked questions as well. If anybody has, next slide, please, Nikki. So we are at the questions portion of the hour together. So we still do have 25 minutes. I do see there are a few questions in the Q&A. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to find that Q&A icon and pop your questions in there, and I will answer them in the time that we have remaining. And if we wrap up early, we'll adjourn. The first question comes from Hulene, and it says, will Evergreen time out like EIS does? Great question. So Evergreen does time out. However, it's a little bit more friendly than EIS is for you. So Evergreen will not start the timeout clock so long as you are using your mouse to, navigate around in a page, or you're typing data or entering data into fields. It will not be working the timeout clock. If you become completely idle, so you're not typing, you're not entering data, you're not moving your mouse, you're not paging through, the timeout clock will start, but the system will actually provide a pop-up for you telling you that you're going to be timed out and asking if you want to stay logged in. So my recommendation is just, if you are stepping away from your computer at any time, and not like in there to be able to see the pop-up come up, you should definitely make sure that wherever you are, you've hit save so that whatever data you've entered is committed to the database. Save or next or whatever it is, to try to make sure that whatever data you've captured is saved, just in case you have to step away from your computer and that timeout comes up and you miss it. But you should get that little pop-up. Heather asks, did I understand correctly that this is only for someone going missing from a group home, shared living, or has a DHHS guardian and goes missing, not to be used if someone lives on their own or with family and drops all contact with community case manager, and community case manager doesn't know where they are? Great question, Heather. So it is my understanding that it is for individuals who are under public guardianship conservatorship, residing in a crisis house, or provider, an agency provider home. However, that is a fabulous question. So I will take that back to leadership at ODES and find out if that is another good use case scenario for creating one of these forms, and certainly we'll let you know. We'll respond to that on our frequently asked questions page. Someone else asks, so is this in addition to a reportable event? Do case managers have to complete this form, or will their supervisors? Great question. So obviously, if somebody goes missing, there still would need to be a reportable event. I assume that meets the criteria of one of the reportable event rules categories. So this is an additional form. It is not meant to replace a reportable event. So anything that a reportable event should be entered for, there should still be a reportable event. This is a supplemental form. And currently, the user roles that have access to create this form are internal state staff. So again, I think it's not currently intended for like tracking all missing persons. So we'll certainly take that question back though and find out if it should be expanded a little bit more. Someone asks as well, does Evergreen have a function similar to the people information report in EIS? I'm not familiar with the people information report in EIS, so I'll have to take that back. I don't know, Nancy, I don't know if you're on and you can unmute if you're familiar with that.
I am not. So I saw the question earlier and I was like, I don't know what that is. So
Okay.
I'm
I'm
not sure.
not sure who entered that question either, but if you could give any additional information about that people information report. I know Lisa Merrill's not on, or I would call on her. She's out this afternoon, but we can certainly try to find out what that is and then respond to that question. Someone also asks, will PCPs that may accidentally not locked from years ago be transferred over to Evergreen? Great question. So I believe, and again, I wish Lisa was here, but I believe that in order for the PCP to successfully migrate, well, actually, I should qualify this. So if it's a PCP from many years ago, it will migrate because older versions of the PCP form. So we updated the PCP forms in EIS about a year and a half ago now. I think it was in June of 2022. And any PCPs prior to June of 2022 in the older versions are not migrating over in the same way that the current version is migrating over. So the current version will migrate over as a viewable, editable form, just like they are in EIS. But the older versions will migrate over as uploaded attachments to the person record. So there'll be a PDF attachment. So if it's an old version, you don't need to worry about it. But if it's one that's been entered since like June of 2022, when we updated the PCP, the version of the PCP, you're going to want to make sure that that is locked if it's completed and should be locked. If it's in progress still, it will migrate in its in progress state. hopefully I answered that correctly. And Nancy will make sure with Lisa that I've answered that correctly when we post these to the frequently asked questions. And yes, the next question from somebody was, if you have a PCP that's in progress and it would be effective in March, will that migrate? Yes, that will migrate in its in progress status. And it looks like that's all the questions that were in the Q&A. I don't know if there are any other questions, but certainly appreciate everybody joining us today at the very end of the day. It was a pleasure sharing this information about the lost or missing person form with you, and happy to take questions even after we adjourn today. Someone asks, if this is an internal form, then why are all case managers invited? Great question. So this training was posted as publicly on our site. And I think it did indicate that it was for case managers, care coordinators. I believe you have access to view the form as a case manager and a care coordinator. You just don't have access to create it, I think. Let me see if I can tell really quick here. And I also suspect that as a case manager or a care coordinator, likely if a person has gone missing, you are involved to some extent in the coordination of trying to find that individual. So wanted you to be aware of the form and how it's used. Give me just a second here. Apologies. I had things closed because I was demoing, but I'm going to try to find that access control so that I can answer that question real quick. Okay, so I apologize. I guess community case managers and care coordinators and supervisors do have the ability to create this form. I apologize for the misinformation. So you do have the ability to create this form. In fact, many roles do. It's just that the notifications will only go to the roles that I had indicated during the presentation. So it looks like almost all of our roles have the ability to create this form if needed. So maybe it is intended for all persons. So we'll certainly get an answer to that. My original notes from the requirements were specific to individuals who resided in a residential facility, a crisis home, or were under public guardianship conservatorship, but maybe it is intended to be used for all lost or missing persons that we serve. And that does look like that is the last question, and I'll certainly get an answer to that and make sure that we adjust our presentation before the next session with that information, and we'll certainly post that information in our frequently asked questions. Are there any other questions that I could respond to today? All right. With that said, then I guess we'll adjourn for today. And again, thank you all for joining us. And we look forward to meeting with you on future topics. And we'll send out access logins just as quickly as we can. Thanks, everybody.